Hello, awesome people! I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at the Thrawn Ascendency, Book 1, Chaos Rising. It's by Timothy Zahn. It tells the prequel of our key character, Thrawn, that was introduced in the Thrawn Trilogy. It started off the expanded universe in Star Wars in the early 90s, and some folks that I read when it came out, and I did a deep dive into the Star Wars universe. Loved it. Everybody loved it too, and so forth. This trilogy I've not read. I only read probably about 20 or 25 Star Wars novels, and this stuff was not current when I stopped reading it in my dad's collections and so forth. So I went back, picked up the first trilogy, read it, knocked it out pretty quickly. This was actually 100 pages less than the first book in the first trilogy, Heir to the Empire. It introduces Thrawn as the last remaining Grand Admiral that's rallying the Empire to his cause, and he's a tactical genius, so he's worthy of the title, and he's not human, and the fact that he has advanced the Grand Admiral, despite the fact that that was only humans and such, and the human bias tells you how competent he was in this infrastructure and so forth. So this tells the prequel of what's happening with him out in the early events in his life that led him and down this path. So that's what's happening, and that's the story of this, now telling out of the story of Thrawn from the first trilogy and so forth. So I picked it up and knocked it out. It's like I said, it's 100 pages less. The first book was 480 pages, and this is 383. I read it in 4 days with 100-ish pages each day, sometimes a little more. Last night, a couple nights ago, it was 105 pages, but then last night I just did the last 75 pages and knocked it out pretty quickly and so forth. I've been surprised at how fast, if you'll recall, the first trilogy read. Typically, an oversized collection like this, I would read in about 15 pages every half hour or so, so about 30 an hour roughly, so I can knock out in a novel length, rather smaller stuff. I'd probably knock out 20 pages, and an extra 5 pages, a half an hour, and an extra 10 pages an hour for you folks. So it didn't read novel length like I wasn't expecting. It read even faster than that, roughly 25 pages. Sometimes, on some days, it might be a little more like 20 pages a day, which is a half an hour rather, and so forth. For example, there was one day in there when I read, it was closer to 2.5 hours for the 100 pages that I was doing, rather than the 2-ish hours from the previous commission and so forth. And last night was just an hour and a half, 75 pages. So it actually was at that too. So that's typically what and I've been very, very surprised going back and rereading just how fast this has been. Also, one of the great things about this series the Star Wars Expanded getting kicked off with Timothy Zahn is that Timothy Zahn was an established and beloved sci-fi writer when they got it started. And that was not the case for a lot of IP that got kicked off of other things. For example, the Battletech IP in science fiction wasn't. But its first books were by people that weren't major names, and in many cases weren't published at all. The same thing is true of Dragonlance, the brand new series in fantasy, which was Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman, which never published anything before. R.A. Salvatore in the second book, with Truth Stewart in the Forgotten Realms in the first book was Douglas Niles, who never published either. Right, and so you see that. I think it's pretty cool that they trusted new people or people that hadn't published much on those things. But then in Star Wars, they gave it to an established writer, right? And so the results are huge hits, in my opinion, and books that really stand the test of time for you folks. So let's get started and think what I actually think about the Chaos Rising Thrawn Ascendency book number 1. So this book, I'm probably giving this more like, I like that it's faster. I like that it didn't have sequelitis. A lot of folks will oftentimes have sequels or prequels or stuff like that be longer than the first one is. So I like that it's not prequelitis and so forth, and it's a fast read. I do enjoy that, but this probably isn't as good as the first trilogy, so I'm giving it probably more like a 7.5 out of 10 for you folks. Some might think it's more of a 7, some might think it's more of an 8, or other things too. I'm not going to be too discouraged one way or the other, but basically what's happening in the first couple of chapters. As a reminder, my spoilers my reviews are spoiler free, but for a novel like this, I'll probably give you the first couple of chapters to get you sort of what's happening and so forth. But basically what's happening is that Thrawn has just been coming back from a major issue. He's been assigned, that's in his past, where he made a major mistake. He's being assigned to a brand new ship that's heading out. They are about to attack a group of people as a punishment because their colony, the Thrawn Ascendency, that's his race of people, were attacked in the first chapter by a group of people in one of their major planets, but they don't know who it was, and they believe that this person is a nearby threat, and if it wasn't them, then even they've still been uppity, so they're going to go take them out anyway. So they were going to do it anyway. Thrawn's leading that. We see him on a battle fleet, like Chapter 3 or Chapter 4. Those typical tactical brilliance, turning a loss or near defeat into, or just a barely win into a major victory for his group. And there you are. That's what's happening with Thrawn in this book, Chaos Rising, for you folks, and the Chase Ascendency. I'll go ahead and leave you to it. Have you read this? If so, what'd you think about it? Let's talk about it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. As a reminder, this channel's name is The Worst Thing About New Books. It's a quote by a French philosopher, Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about new books was that they kept us from reading the old ones. And this book, decades ago, is definitely older for you folks. It's the passion of his channel. And then finally, I just want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me, that's incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.